Coming up on Network Africa. South Africa declares state of disaster after deadly floods. African refugees in Tunisia protest call for evacuation to other countries. Plus, Mali receives more military equipment from Russia. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shibowale. We begin in South Africa, where President Cyril Ramaphosa has upgraded the government's response to the recent floods in the country by now declaring a national state of disaster. This comes a week after terrible floods left at least 448 people dead in the Durban area on the East Coast. 1 billion rand has been set aside to support those affected, and the Solidarity Fund, which took donations from individual and private entities, is again open for donations and will assist with available resources and expertise. President Ramaphosa, addressing the nation, outlined government's plan to respond to the floods, which includes deploying about 10,000 Defence Forces personnel to help with distribution of basic essentials and restoration of electricity and water supply.
First, we will focus on the immediate humanitarian relief, ensuring that all affected persons are safe and that their basic needs are met. Second, we will focus on stabilization and recovery, rehousing people who have lost homes, and restoring provision of services. And thirdly, we will focus on reconstruction and rebuilding, as many areas have been destroyed and devastated, including infrastructure. This will not only involve the construction and repair of major infrastructure, it will also involve the construction of houses in suitably located areas and measures to protect the residents of these areas from such adverse weather events also in the future.
Meanwhile, thousands of people affected by the floods in KwaZulu-Natal are eagerly waiting government's promised help to start rebuilding their lives. So far, 448 people have been confirmed dead and more than 50 are still missing. According to the provincial officials, homes, healthcare facilities, as well as more than 500 schools have been destroyed. Channels Television visited some of the affected areas, and our bureau chief brings you the picture in Inanda area of the province.
Inanda is one of the areas or towns severely affected in the recent floods in KwaZulu-Natal. And we're here in Inanda, but the Mzinyati community, many of the homes along the banks of the Mzinyati River that you see behind me were affected. No less than 45 people here alone were affected. And also in this area, the body of a baby no more than 4 months old was washed against the backyard of one of the homes here. And on my left, up the hill, it's an area still in Inanda where a family of 11 people perished in the mudslides that followed the flood. It was difficult trying to walk in the footsteps of the affected persons. This pile, extremely close to the Mzinyati River, used to be the Mieza's 4-bedroom home.
We were just standing there by the neighbor. We heard the sound while the building was collapsing.
For the Bangus, it seemed funny at first, till the swollen river almost engulfed their home.
I was in the house and we ran away, me and my parents and my daughter, because everything happened so fast.
Yeah. It looks like the water was quite high. How high was it?
It was high because, do you see the level of televisions in the wall? Yes, everything was messed up. The whole house was flooded. It was bad.
For Zaitu Kumalo, a toilet unit from another home up the hill broke and emptied itself on hers.
Only I need is the help, because there is a toilet in my roof. No one going to, because it's heavy. I can't take it with my hands, and even my husband can't even move all these things.
The Mkhize's home escaped the swollen river by a hair's breadth.
My mother and father started to pray and pray, okay? Then the water started to move down. That's how we survived by prayer.
Across the affected areas, rural and urban, the sight wasn't pretty. While some affected people are trying to salvage and rebuild, some homes still sitting on floodplains are disasters waiting to happen. Not even the usually clean Durban beach was spared.
People were like, they were digging. They were looking actually for bodies, you know. They will tell you, if you ask them, that my house was here, but my brother is still missing. I'm still looking for him.
We came across a search and rescue crew watched closely by distraught family members. This search was for 6 out of 10 missing members of one family. Only 4 bodies had been found at this time.
We have found a number of people already, but we're continuing the search.
In which areas?
All over.
President Cyril Ramaphosa Monday night announced 3-phase measures to support affected persons and rebuild what's been destroyed. But given the usual corruption and diversion deals, some are skeptical help will come.
Yeah, government can release the money, but you see, the problem is that I know that that money won't go to the people that's supposed to go to. Because you see, even now, even one council came here, no one.
Mop up and rebuilding will take time, but every hour of every day will count to start and see that journey through, weather permitting. Hopefully, all that's been mobilized, all that's been raised will water down to the people who actually need help. From Inanda, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
And away from South Africa, dozens of African refugees in Tunisia are demanding evacuation to other countries. The refugees, mostly survivors of illegal immigration attempts by sea to Europe, have been staging a sit-in in front of the office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees in the Tunisian capital, Tunis, since Saturday. Equipped with blankets, the refugees, many of whom are women and children, spend the night on cardboard boxes spread out on the ground amid suitcases containing their personal belongings. Migrants and refugees, particularly from sub-Saharan Africa, regularly complain of being subjected to verbal and physical abuse in Tunisia. The majority of them were rescued off the coast of Tunisia after their boats capsized while they were trying to reach Europe. According to statistics from the Tunisian Forum for Economic and Social Rights, the Tunisian Coast Guard intercepted 25,657 migrants attempting to cross the Mediterranean in 2021, almost double the number from the previous year. Elsewhere in North Africa, Libya's National Oil Corporation says that a wave of protests affecting the energy sector are likely to get worse. At least 4 separate groups have stopped production at oil fields and energy facilities across the country. The protesters want Libya's Tripoli-based Prime Minister Abdulhamid Dbeibah to hand power to a rival government led by Fathi Bashagha, which was formed last month. The two governments have been competing for power since Libya's parliament elected Mr. Bashagha as prime minister. But Mr. Dbeibah says he still has a mandate to govern until national elections scheduled for June. Meanwhile, the head of Libya's Government of National Unity, Mr. Dbeibah, has visited Algeria to obtain the country's support and break the political isolation of his government. Mr. Dbeibah and several other top officials in his administration, including security chiefs, arrived in the Algerian capital for a series of meetings on Monday. The visit marks a rare departure from Tripoli for Dbeibah since Libya's eastern-based parliament appointed a rival prime minister a move he has rejected amid an armed standoff between rival factions for control of the government. And over in West Africa, Mali has received another batch of military equipment from Russia after the EU suspended its military training program with the Sahel nation. Armed Forces Chief Major General Umar Daira received 2 combat helicopters and surveillance radars. Mr. Daira termed Russia's support to Mali as a manifestation of the very fruitful partnership. Last month, Mali received 2 Russian-made combat helicopters and radars shortly after reports that its defense minister and Air Force chief visited Moscow. Mali has defended its relations with Russia after international backlash over a decision to deploy mercenaries from the controversial Wagner Group in December. Wagner fighters and Mali's army have been linked to allegations of gross human rights abuses in joint counter-insurgency operations in recent months, report Mali denies. And still on diplomatic relations, the Republic of Korea has announced its readiness to enter into a partnership with Nigeria to explore areas of cultural cooperation and the promotion of the entertainment industry for the mutual benefit of both countries' socio-economic development. The Korean ambassador to Nigeria, Kim Yong-chai, during his visit to Jos Plateau State, expressed the Korean government's resolve in cultural cooperation with Nigeria, as well as investing in the entertainment industry, which has great potentials for economic development.
As part of strengthening the bilateral relations between the Republic of Korea and Nigeria, the Korean ambassador to Nigeria and officials of the embassy have been visiting some traditional and academic institutions across the state to explore areas of cooperation and collaboration between the two countries. The Korean entourage visited the Gwangwam Jos in his palace alongside management staff of the University of Jos, led by the Vice-Chancellor. The paramount ruler of Jos informs the ambassador of the forthcoming traditional festival, as well as the menace of artisan miners, which has caused environmental hazards in the affected areas. With the influx of people to the state, which is partly responsible for some of the security challenges being experienced in the state.
Mining, in as much as the minerals are very useful, but the way we are going about it here, artisan mining is destroying the land. But with proper use of technology, we'll be able to mine and reclaim the areas so that other economic activities can go on there.
The ambassador promises sustained cooperation, in addition to exploring other opportunities in the entertainment industry and cultural development that will be beneficial to the two countries, while the Vice-Chancellor pledges to explore the research option into illegal mining activities in the state.
We see the potential that the Korean companies trade more, invest more in Nigeria, not only in mining but also in agriculture. I see a great potential in agriculture. My government plans to further cooperations in terms of sharing our economic development experiences.
For us as a university, we want to be proud to see that whatever research and development that is done within the university, that the immediate community actually are the beneficiaries. We are going to really focus on that to make sure that whatever we do, we are doing it for the benefit of the immediate community and the state.
With effective bilateral relations between the Korean government and some institutions in the country, more opportunities will be open for collaboration and socio-economic development of both countries.
Still to come on the program. Paragliders return to Ghana's skies for the Easter Festival. More details in a moment. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. As South Sudan struggles for peace, it's still cleaning up the deadly threat posed by thousands of landmines from previous conflict decades ago. In Upper Nile and the extreme north of Jonglei State, the United Nations Mine Action Service has carried out a mine risk awareness session to educate vulnerable communities who are living under the threat of anti-personnel mines.
Landmines and unexploded ordnance scattered in areas of past fighting still poses a danger to communities staying near such zones in South Sudan. Traveling by road and river, en masse field staff moved to meet communities who need their help.
قالوا لنا المواطنين دي اللي يشيلوا من المحلة عشان نشتغلوا في المحلة بدنا هنا ما عندنا محل كان ودي فيه مواطنين لأن المحل كله كان ملء مويه.
En masse works with national and local authorities to support people in the region.
We are here today to seek if we are able to deploy our team finally to support these people and to clear the land where are anti-personnel mines. Once we clear the land, people will be able to plant some plants, to grow plants and to have some kind of food. Otherwise, the rest of the land here is flooded all the year, and this is the only area which is suitable for them.
The chief of mine action in South Sudan, Fran O'Grady, during his visit to Canal Island, saw an urgent need for people here to receive food, shelter, protection, and to be free from dangers of mines.
Right now, we're really in solutions mode to try and figure out how we can get here and help these tremendously resilient people to get on with their lives and livelihoods, and also to bring back the message, the very clear message that the Commissioner, the Executive Director and the Chief and the County Coordinator said about the needs here are bigger. Mines are only one part of that need. It's food, protection, medical, access.
Visiting a cattle camp south of Malakal, Mr. O'Grady discussed with the cattle camp leaders ways to help them move safely. There are very few female deminers in South Sudan, but Ajanawath Sharon says she feels immense pride supporting people doing this difficult but life-saving job.
We move from places to places. We go for patrols. We support missions. Sometimes you think you're the only lady who is there among male. But to me, I think though it's a challenge, but it's also a pride.
According to the United States Mine Action Service, more than 5,000 South Sudanese have been killed or injured by landmines and unexploded ordnance since 2004. More than 1 million explosive items have been found and destroyed in the country during that time.
Two soldiers have shot dead 15 people in separate attacks in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. The victims were almost all civilians. This comes after 6 people were injured when soldiers threw a grenade into a crowd whilst trying to carry out an arrest. On Sunday, another soldier shot dead a colonel, his bodyguard, and 5 civilians in Ituri province. The killer, also said to have been drunk, was shot dead by a colleague as he fled. Meanwhile, the United Nations says it's concerned about the worsening humanitarian situation on the ground in Ituri, Democratic Republic of Congo, as violence continues. UN spokesperson Stefan Dujarric says recent attacks left at least 35 civilians dead. The provinces of North Kivu and Ituri were placed under a state of siege in May, with local authorities replaced by army officers and police, but violence has continued unabated.
From the Democratic Republic of the Congo, I can tell you that we are concerned about the deteriorating humanitarian situation on the ground in Ituri as the violence unfortunately continues. Last week, attacks in Jugu and Irumu territories resulted in the killing of at least 35 civilians, including 1 displaced person and 19 returnees. Insecurity has forced 9 humanitarian organizations, 1 UN agency, and 8 international NGOs to temporarily suspend their road movements in Irumu and Mombasa territories, delaying the provision of assistance to thousands of people. The humanitarian situation in Ituri has been deteriorating since last October, when attacks on civilians increased, including on sites for displaced people. This has led to significant population movements, and today the province has 1.9 million people who are displaced. Persistent insecurity has also impacted food production in Ituri, leaving thousands of families with insufficient food to eat. Food insecurity affects nearly 3 million people, particularly in Jugu, where 1 in 5 people is facing emergency hunger levels. Over the past 2 years, between March 2020 and March 2022, some 211 schools have been destroyed or damaged, leaving 55,000 children out of school across Ituri. We, along with our partners, have managed to continue to operate and provide assistance to civilians despite volatile situation. 8 projects in shelter, health, food security, nutrition, and protection are currently being implemented in the areas of Komanda and Mombasa.
The UN World Food Programme is warning that due to a prolonged drought across the Horn of Africa, the number of people at risk of hunger there could rise from 14 million to 20 million. It says parts of Ethiopia, Somalia and Kenya are the driest they've been for 40 years, and the desperately needed rains have failed to come almost a month into the current rainy season. The WFP says wheat supplies have also been affected by the war in Ukraine, and with shipping costs rising, food and fuel prices have shot up. It says despite several warnings of a disastrous drought, funding has not been made available at the scale needed. And finally on the program, over in Ghana, once a year, thousands of people from around the world flock to the north of the capital, Accra. They come for a paragliding festival and carnival that residents hope may establish the West African nation as a hub for extreme sports. Take a look.
This year marks Ghana's paragliding festival's return to its annual schedule after the COVID-19 pandemic forced organizers to postpone the last 2 years. Around 400 people registered for tandem flights with professional pilots in the towns of Kwahu and Alibi. Dozens brought their own equipment to fly solo. 34-year-old Jonathan Quay first flew in 2006, the festival's second year, as the passenger of an American paraglider. He's been paragliding ever since. Having acquired his tandem certification during the COVID-19 pandemic, he is now the only Ghanaian at the festival certified to carry others into the clouds.
Most people think it's not a safe sport, and people have like a mentality of like, oh no, this is only for white people, that kind of thing. And all those people who say that, they've never been here, so they always discourage their friends, don't do it. But when their friends come and they do it, and like, but it's that easy like that, so why haven't I been doing like that? Then we ask them, where can I learn? How do I go about it? Then I also start giving them information.
But the scene is growing, with more Ghanaians taking part.
Jonathan is based here, and I think Kenichi is also based in Ghana. The other 2 of us, we are outside, like Switzerland and myself in the US. So, sometimes representation is good. When you see people that look like you doing what you're doing, they're like, oh, I could also get into it. See what I'm saying? So I feel it's going to really motivate a lot of people, like, oh, if Stephen can do it, maybe Francis can do it. And people will be open to the idea that, oh, they could actually put their mind to something and get it done.
Quay says paragliding has taught him lessons that have reshaped his professional life in ways he never thought possible. By helping others to fly, he hopes to pass on the principles like patience, tranquility, and risk assessment.
I used to be like quick-tempered. If I drive on the street and you just cross me, I'll just give it to like. But now I look at certain things and I'm like, no, it's not necessary. Let's just let it go. Like, you know, so it has made me a calm person. I look at things like before I make a decision, I have to think and rethink and like just go. Because any decision that I make will affect whatever I do. And it's the same thing in this sport. You know, conditions are not right, so just chill, wait. If it's good for you, you can go, like you go like. So those skill sets that I'm learning has changed my perspective about life, like in a lot of things.
The Ghanaian Paragliding Festival is an annual event held during Easter. Like any other year, the Paragliding Festival, which has become a key highlight of the Easter Festival, attracted a number of patrons from different countries. The 4-day event, which started on Friday, April 15th, came to a climax on Monday, April 18th.
And that's the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Teniola Shubowale. Bye for now.